Welcome to the Hobby Hangout. We thought it'd be fun to do some terrain with our kids. And what better place to start with some hills? They're fairly simple. I'm going to walk through the materials and the process that we did to build these hills that I have out in front of me. And this one here is just a hill that I actually started many years ago and just never got around to finishing it. So I tackled it at the same time as we did the other hills. It was a fun experience and not overly complex. Our kids are fairly young, one's 6 and one is 11. And they had no issues going through this, and my wife, not being a terrain builder, also had no difficulty going through this. So something quick and easy that we can do together. We started off with pink insulation foam. This is the 1/2 inch. You can get it at any hardware store. The glue that we used to put together the hill is PL Premium Max. It's what I had available from other projects, but any kind of construction adhesive can be used. We used bark chips for the wood texturing on the hills. They'll come in little chips. I use this hobby saw to cut several of them in half so you get a more smooth edge. Makes it easier to stack them and create layers. For cutting the foam, I just used a regular large blade. Nothing fancy, no need for a hot wire cutter. I did use a glue gun to attach the wood chips to the foam. We did multiple layers on our hills, and to smooth out the transitions from the various layers, we used Geek Gaming Scenics modeling compound. It's got some fibrous tissues in there along with, I think, sort of plaster. First thing is you'll want to draw the shape of your hill on your foam. This will be your first layer of the hill. We'll create smaller circles as we get bigger. Make sure they're not perfect circles. You want more of oblong or oval type shapes. And depending on how big you want your hill, I recommend making your first base shape bigger than what you actually want, because you are going to cut away at some of it. So once you've defined your first circular shape, you may want to have a flat portion to it. One of the ends should be relatively flat if you intend to add rocks to it, or anywhere you want to add rocks, you want those sides to be more flat and straight. Once you've cut out that shape with just an X-Acto knife, you don't have to be perfect around it. You can draw the next shape and then the next shape on top, going smaller and smaller as you go to your final layer. These hills are actually made with 3 layers, so 3 of those 1/2 inch layer foams. And overall, it'll still end up being less than 1.5 inches because, as I mentioned, we're going to cut down and shave some of those pieces. With the layers, I prefer to cut them before I glue them together. Just makes it easier to maneuver the knife. So the first layer, what I typically do is cut at about a 45 or a little bit more of an angle, straight down to the base, so you almost get a flat edge there. And then just do that all around, and then come back again at a slightly steeper angle, and again at a slightly steeper angle till you get a nice slope on that first layer. Then you'll want to center and place where you want your next layer and do the same thing. And then again for the top layer, typically with your top layer, I try not to leave any flat surface because it is typically a smaller piece. I want to bevel it, and then any flat remaining pieces I want to shave off as well, so you get a nice curvature to that top layer. Then we want to glue it together with our construction adhesive, and I'll use toothpicks to help hold that structure together till it dries. And then we use the hot glue gun to attach the bark to the front, whether you're using bark chips or cork. You can use that hot glue to stick them directly to the foam. Make sure the hot glue isn't too hot, or else it's going to melt your foam and not stick properly. Once it's all dry, that's when we shift into the modeling compound. So that Geek Gaming modeling compound that I use, you mix it with water. Now it does set very quickly, so you don't want to make large batches all at once. Work with small batches, and when you're done, just pour a little bit more and mix it with water. And you want sort of a cottage cheese kind of runny consistency. We use that to layer it across, smooth it around. As it starts to dry, you can wet your fingers and really smooth it out so you don't have too many bumps. And you can also use a paintbrush and start smashing it in between your rocks to get a little bit more texture in between the wood chips, so you don't just see layers of wood chips and you blend them together. So that's what we did here at the rock faces, and then across the board as well, to even out all those layers. And then we set it to dry. Priming, typically with terrain projects, because they are larger pieces, we just use cheap acrylic paints that you can get like at the dollar store. So for the main hills, we colored those a brown color and then gave it a bit of a dry brush with a yellow ochre-y kind of color. For the rocks, we primed them black. Now if you have gray tones, you can definitely dry brush with those. We just leveraged white and black, so we started mixing white in gradually and giving it multiple coats, just getting lighter and lighter with each coat until we got to a very light gray tone. We did do a bit of a brown wash on them and a little bit of a black wash. And then a final highlight again of that gray-green dry brush. Good job, dude. Once that was done, we moved on to flocking. So next we went into flocking the hills. We used Gorilla Glue carpenter glue, and we coated that all over the hill, making sure not to cover the rocks as we didn't want flocking to get all over the rocks. Once we had an even coat on there, we started sprinkling on the flocking and just varying the tones as we went over it. So we used the burnt grass from Woodland Scenics, the green grass, the earth blend, and the green blend. So we combined those randomly across the various hills. We weren't trying to create any specific patterns or anything. And if it got a little bit too light or a little bit too dark, we just used some of the other colors. Once that was all over the hills, we took out some pre-mixed blends of rocks and flocking or static grass, and we sprinkled that around the rocks as well, and in certain spots across the hill. And then we gave everything coated of watered down carpenter's glue. Set that to dry for about 24 hours. And when it was dried, then we moved on to gamer grass static tufts. So we used a variety of different kinds of lengths, colors, styles, flowers. We just had fun creating that variety. You can see our daughter decided to create some flower combinations. So once you get that all together, you end up with some beautiful hills that are rock solid and nice slopes to them, lots of textures, your figures won't slide off of them, and ready for wargaming. Have fun!